And I think they're a very important part of public health protocol.
And they had a really robust discussion, which was very, nice to see. Lawyers do like to argue. They like to debate things. And the consensus of the group was, we can't recommend a vaccine unicorn. We can't recommend a vaccine that doesn't
all right,
exist.
you set me up perfectly, Mary. I owe you $20. Here is just a couple of excerpts from that call that was going on. And you're right. This is exactly what they seem to be saying. Here's just two of the guys that were speaking.
Look, support mandatory vaccinations, but we don't have a vaccination now. We are not going to have a vaccination between now and the November meeting of the House. So there is absolutely no urgency, no necessity, no rationale for our rushing to judgment on that highly controversial issue.
I recognize what our colleagues have said, that we've eradicated diseases based upon vaccination. And I think they're a very important part of public health protocol. But at the same time, I would, at this point, based on the fact that we don't have a working vaccine, we have some promise, but we don't have an actual working vaccine. That one of my concerns, at least with regard to resolution number 3, is that we would have a resolution on the books of NISBA that potentially would have no connection to a working vaccination or any kind of medical science.
It's almost comical. I mean, I'm still just befuddled by the levels of discussion around the world on something that, as you just well put, I call the vaccine unicorn. What are we discussing here? This doesn't exist. We're talking about a policy for something that may never exist on this planet. Obviously, it's great that multiple lawyers, and those weren't the only ones, really are critically thinking and saying, what are we talking about here? But then you had an argument that seemed to have nothing to do except for, I'm just tired of the complaints. Listen to this guy. I mean, this is outrageous.
For those of you who don't know this, a very disciplined, a very effective group of lobbyists who are opposed to mandatory vaccination have besieged the staff of the New York State Bar Association in a way I have never, ever seen. Thousands of phone calls. By the way, these are not NISBA members. These are not NISBA lawyers. Thousands of phone calls and emails on a daily basis. It has been like nothing I have ever seen. That level of discipline. And as we speak right now, as we speak, there are hundreds and hundreds of people protesting around the Bar Center, not NISBA members, not NISBA lawyers. And by the way, that will not stop until November. That will not stop until January. And if we want to reward that kind, frankly, intimidation of our leaders and our staff, then vote yes for November.
You obviously really pissed Hank Greenberg off out there in New York, and it's amazing, right? Forget the fact that there's no science. Forget there's no safety studies. Forget that there's no vaccine that exists. You better vote on this because we can't have the people intimidating us with phone calls. I mean, it's really moronic, but the beauty is it shows the power of the work that you're doing out there, Mary, and that so many people are doing by showing up. When we think, oh, it has no effect, it clearly does. Those phone calls and those things that we promote on the high wire, and you work so hard to get out there with Children's Health Defense, it really makes a difference. Tell me about just that, David. What did it feel like? All those people, we've got to, it's going to be a huge fight, right? This is going to happen. What is the Bar Association in every single state? This is the agenda that I stated at the top of the show. They want to force every human being into a vaccination. What are we going to need to do to stop it?
Well, it felt great, Del. There were lots of people from lots of different groups. They were there for lots of different reasons. We were all together. It was a beautiful day, and there was a great energy, and we felt our power. And there's an irony in this, prestigious lawyer saying that we're intimidating him. They're talking about coercive medical intervention for every person in the state and the country, and that doesn't strike him as intimidation, but phone calls and, a peaceful assembly strikes him as intimidation. There's an irony there.
With the health of our children, okay? And we should not have to pay for the education of our children with the sacrifice of our religion.
a line drawn between individuals' religious beliefs and state authority. And if we stop drawing that line, we go down a slippery slope.
If we don't stop this now, especially with this corona vaccine and what they're trying to do in New York State, which is mandate it for every child through every adult, regardless of age, every year, then it's going to cause a huge detriment to our society.